So usually, the fall happens at the end of the story, but this one happened way, way at the beginning. Where am I? The girl asked herself, shivering under the stars. It was a dark, wet night, and the trees surrounded her like soldiers. Beyond their pointy arms and leaves she was unable to see a thing. I can't remember anything. What am I doing here? Her voice seemed to reach the edge of the clearing and then stop, suddenly. Hello? She shouted, getting more and more frustrated each time. But there was no reply. As she walked away from the site she had awoken, each patter of her feet upon the ground sounded too loud, like an incessant ticking of a clock driving her away from the safety of the clearing. With every step the girl felt like the rain got heavier, and she could have sworn there was a faint sound of crying somewhere in the forest. Minutes? Hours? How long had she been walking? It felt like days. Hello? Hello? Each time her only reply was the wind. She passed so many weird and wonderful sights as she walked that it almost felt like a dream. There were mushrooms that glowed, trees that were upside down, and flowers being used as houses for small creatures. It made her feel happier, and passed the time quicker than the journey may have otherwise. Then suddenly, the girl was out of the forest. There was a small village, but the streets were empty, and it looked as if every light were off, all except one. The candle outside the inn glowed brightly, like a beacon. So she went inside. "Why, hello there," said the innkeeper. Despite the weather, he had a jolly smile and funny flappy ears that made the girl feel immediately at home. "Hello," she chimed. "Are you the only person here?" "Oh, yes," replied he. "Everybody else up and left after the sky started crying. But I couldn't leave my inn to the flood. I've lived here my whole life." "The sky's been crying?" "Yes," exclaimed the little man. "Haven't you seen it, falling down to earth? Those are the sky's tears. It's been crying a lot." "Well, of course it has. Wouldn't you?" "Wouldn't I?" The innkeeper looked at her thoughtfully for a moment. "Don't you know what's happened?" She began to retell her tale to the man, and how she couldn't remember a single thing before she woke up in the forest. "That's terrible," he said at the end. "I hope you remember soon." The girl thanked him and asked again, "What's happened to the sky?" "Oh, it lost one of its children. A star fell out of it, and ever since the moon and the clouds haven't stopped sobbing. It's been days now." His words were somehow familiar to her, and with a growing sense of déjà vu, the girl realized that she was the star that had fallen from the sky. "I am the star," she cried suddenly, and the innkeeper's eyebrows jumped in surprise. "You're the star?" "Yes. I was knocked out of the sky by a passing meteor. I didn't remember when I woke up, but you telling me the story brought it all back to me." "Then you need to get back home," he said to her. "There's a tree called the Giant, and legend says it's so tall it can reach the sky. If you go left when you head out the door and keep going straight, then you should reach it eventually." "Thank you," she said, smiling. "I need to go now, before everything floods." The two bid each other goodbye, and the girl left the inn to seek out the giant tree. As she began to walk, she realized a thick smog had infected the air outside, and she could hardly see her own feet before her, let alone her destination. The girl trudged on through the mud and grass and rain, praying she was going the right way. Eventually, the fog began to disappear, until suddenly it had vanished all in a second, and before her stood the giant. There was something downright menacing about its size, and it looked faintly purple instead of brown, as many regular trees were. She began to fast approach the tree, and climbing its massive roots towards the trunk. The higher up she went, the louder the wind seemed to sound, and the stronger it appeared to grow. As she reached the height of the clouds, it felt like the wind could pluck her from the trunk and throw her back towards the ground. But the girl held on tightly, refusing to give up her home so easily. For a while her vision went completely white.